All right, now we're live. Not live, recorded. I just wanted to, I just wanted to welcome Leilani to my feed. Leilani, thank you for coming and speaking to me today. It's much appreciated.
No, thank you for having me on. Like, I have so many questions for you as well that I know, like, people that follow me would want to know about as well. So I've got a whole load of things to ask you too after after you've asked me. I got to ask you.
Well, shall we start there then? Because I was going to ask you about the state of the country. Are we in a police state, etc., etc.? Let's start there. Let's get this done. You can ask me what you want to ask me. So my first question to you was: are we living in a police state? In your
I
opinion?
think we are. I just cannot believe what's going on. It seems to me is that we're seeing responses to some horrific actions that have happened. And what I see is the government and the police going after the reactions to these horrific things that have happened without response to the actual horrific atrocities that are happening. It's like, they're letting these things blow up, whether it's, Southport, whether it's, shoplifting or illegals, but the response that's happening is what they're going after, and not the actual problems of what's happening in England at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. You're quite outspoken yourself on X. Do you ever worry about getting a knock on the door?
Oh, every day I worry. I've spoken to my fiance about it, and my friends are worried. Of course, absolutely, because, I'm not inciting anything. I'm just talking facts and what's the state of the country. And I'm thinking, this could be offensive to somebody. Somebody is going to eventually turn this into like a hate crime. Am I getting, are people reporting me for what I'm saying because they don't like it? Not that any of it's bad. So yeah, and I've seen lots of my friends have had knocks on their doors. Dave Atherton, who I've seen that you're going to interview, he's been hauled into police stations. I know Alison Pearson, she got hauled in over a tweet. And then you see the reaction, you see these people getting pulled into police stations for questioning over social media posts. But then you hear about, people like Hugh Edwards walking free after pleading guilty for the absolute disgusting material he had in his phone. Now, obviously, I don't know where this is going to go. And I know that places like YouTube will actually censor you for saying what Hugh Edwards has done. This is the crazy thing. They'll censor you if you talk about the filth that he had on his phone. Not even, just simply stating this is what he had. And I've seen since you were arrested and other people were jailed, I've seen multiple people that have had this pleading guilty and walking free on suspended sentences. I saw a man, Adam Brooks, who I follow on Twitter. He posted an article. It's been pretty quiet about it. You see Greg Wallace splashed on the pages, but you see this man, no one's talking about it. He headbutted his girlfriend, knocked her unconscious. She soiled herself. It was so bad. He's walked free on a suspended sentence, and he had 4 prior arrests or convictions. And he's walked free. Yet, there's people that were responding to a tragic, horrific, heinous event that have been locked away in jail.
100%. And the things that they're getting locked away for, and the misinformation that was spread actually turns out not to be misinformation at all. So, you've got people languishing in jail now that have basically told the truth. Now, whether they were clutching at straws and pulling it out of air, we don't know. But generally, when you don't get a description of a person and they don't release certain facts about a person, then you tend to know to what it is. And then you've got your 2 guys from the Manchester airport attack. They're still roaming free. That really grinds my gears, And then there's people like me, Cameron Bell, that have been put into prison. And it doesn't just affect the time that you're in prison, it affects afterwards as well. My boy is 9 and he's still having counselling at school because he thought that I was going to be away for 2 years, because if it would have gone wrong for me, I would have got 4 years. And
you were not guilty, but you were still in jail, weren't you?
Yeah. So at the start, I was 3 weeks, put in jail for 3 weeks. Some of that was in police custody, but my health was quite bad. Then I spent 3 weeks at HMP Leicester. I had a lot of health issues while I was there. So when we first applied for the bail, it was refused through the magistrates court, and then we applied again after my plea hearing, which I went not guilty. But even when I'm making these not guilty pleas, they're actually laughing at me. The first judge in the magistrates court, he actually laughed, and he actually, after it finished, he said, "Why have you done that?" Because I'm not guilty of what you're telling me. You're trying to insinuate that I was trying to stoke up something when I wasn't. All I'm doing is having an opinion on something. I'll be the first person to put my hands up and say my posts are close to the bone. I know that, and I appreciate that.
So you weren't even there. You were commenting.
Yeah, mine was all ex posts, all of it.
See, this is what is insane to me. You weren't even there, and people have done physical harm to children, to other people, like this man I mentioned who's walking free after beating up his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And who I think was actually pregnant at the time, and they're walking free on suspended sentences, and people are in jail. One person, Peter Lynch, has committed suicide. And they haven't done any actual harm. This is the craziest thing. So
yeah,
why do you think, because you obviously pleaded not guilty, so many people have asked, have people been manipulated or coerced or panicked into pleading guilty? Because a lot of most of the people, you're the only person really that I know of that pleaded not guilty, that obviously then was found not guilty and got off. But a lot of people that have done similar seem to have pleaded guilty. So what is it? The pressure or I don't know.
Well, no, even my experience from the get-go, I was pressured to plead guilty, and that was from police officers, how the interview was conducted, basically saying there's no getting away from this fella, you're banged to rights, trying to link me with Tommy Robinson, trying to build it up in that sort of way. You had the judge at the magistrates court basically saying, "What are you doing?" And there was I had a duty solicitor, so the first lady that came to speak to me, she was saying, "Right, tell me about." I said, "Well, I've posted some stuff on X." I said, "Yeah, I put my hands up." She goes, "Right, you need to say nothing. You say not guilty. Your best bet is to plead guilty and just go from there." So it happened to me. So everybody that I've spoken to as well, Cameron Bell, I've spoke to quite a few people in a similar situation. All the same. Cameron Bell was coerced. She's got her boyfriend. He's got a trial next year in January. He was being pressured to plead guilty, but I've managed to speak to him or through his mother and tell her, have they got anything on him? Is he been caught doing anything? He was at a riot, but he wasn't participating in the riot.
Right.
So I said, he's got to go not guilty. He's got to go not guilty. Because if you get the right jury, then, I mean, I was lucky. I'm in Leicester. I'm in Leicester area. So my jury could have been a lot different to what it was, and that's not being racist or anything like that. There was a Muslim girl on the jury. She was the one that was holding everything up. I mean, I was preparing myself for 4 years. I really was.
This is horrific, because like I said, when you think that Hugh Edwards and people like him have pleaded guilty, and because sometimes people think, well, if I plead guilty, obviously I'll get a lesser sentence, or they'll be, they'll see this and then they'll say I'm sorry, and then they might reduce it, and then you see people like Hugh Edwards going with a suspended sentence. You see this guy that beat up his girlfriend having a suspended sentence. So one would think at the early couple of days that if you did plead guilty, then maybe you would see some kind of common sense from the judge, especially for somebody that's not done anything, not that they even are guilty of it or that was ever what they were trying to do, but in order to reduce the sentence. I could imagine the kind of pressure people would have been under.
Well, Cameron Bell, she was told by her people that if she didn't plead guilty, she would be held on remand until May next year, and that is why she pled guilty. But when I was interviewing, I said, Cameron, but you do realise it's all, I understand why she pled guilty, because she's a young girl. She got put into, she's never been in that situation before, so I can totally understand why she did it. I'm a bit different. I've been a prison officer, so I know how it all works. when I was younger, I used to be a prison officer for 5 or 6 years. So the only thing that happened to me in there was getting beat up by the Asian gang. That was it. Other than that, I was fine. Absolutely fine. I knew my way around. But for somebody like her, young, going into it, she must have been petrified. And she said, I just couldn't stay in there till May next year. You know, so she took the guilty. She'd already been on remand for X months, because people were saying, well, how is she still out? She'd been on remand for 4 months already. So by the time she put her guilty plea in, she only had to do another a month. But you've got Wayne O'Rourke. He's in jail for, you know, he probably won't be out next year. Never mind about anything else. And it was calculated.
Clearing out jails of violent offenders, saying the jails are too full, and then putting people in for Facebook and Twitter posts like Lucy Connolly down south. I mean, this is nuts. It's so crazy to me.
It is. And the sad thing is that people, it's worked. You know, people, the right stopped. People saw people getting chucked into jail. People are too scared to speak out. Now, that's why I like your account, because you don't mind saying how it is, David. So, and what I've said to a few people is really put more of a fire in my belly to actually go even further. You know, you've had your chance with me. Now you've lit something in me that I just want to bomb. So it's had the opposite effect, really. But my advice is just keep doing what you're doing. You know, don't worry about a knock at the door, because, you know, there's only so far you've done.
Is Southport is such a small place, and we can see that there's been such a cover up, and some of the things that were coming out were obviously true, because there would have been parents there that have seen it that obviously can't speak to the media because of the trial. But there was a lot of factual information that was, you know, that was coming out. You know, I'm hearing things again, things that were supposedly misinformation that could possibly be true. Again, you know, Dave and I have spoken on the phone about, you know, what we've heard but can't put out, because we you know, we weren't there firsthand. But when you know how small these communities are and how well they know each other, and you know, you've not only got the parents of the families of the little girl, the parents of the little girls that were brutally murdered, you've got the parents of the other girls that, you know, did better, then you've got the girl that was the teacher, an instructor that, you know, opened the door and help the other little girls out. And so you've got all of this, you know, you've got all of these people in that area talking. They know what's going on. The police would have known. There would have been police that are absolutely obviously horrified by it, horrified what they found in the guy's home. They would have probably told their mates. The word would have got out. So, you know, there are.
But, you know, the good thing is it's going to come out. It will come out. It has to come out because of the trial. And Keir Starmer's doing his best to try and push it down the road, but it's all going to come out. And I'm going to look forward to that day, because a lot of people are going to be vindicated. But will the mainstream media even report it? You know, that's the situation that we're in.
And then I've heard even at the you know, the asylum hotels, the asylum seekers were in the window. We'll call them asylum seekers because that's what they want. These men were in the window doing certain things completely inappropriate to goad people down outside. So, you know, I've heard a few different things in a few different versions. So I won't go in here because I didn't see it firsthand. But, you know, it's not all this line that the media are trying, and this narrative that the media are trying to push. You know, there were some horrific things going on inside the asylum seekers hotels that they were doing, and to the people outside.
Yeah. Whilst we're on it as well, there's a guy got sent to prison yesterday, I think it was, for 9 years. Rotherham. He was, and I'll just get this straight, because he was actually putting bits of wood and lighting fires next to the doorway of a hotel. Now, I categorically say he is a prat, and he deserves every year that he's going to serve in prison. So we're not bad people for saying that we are worried about our country, but you won't catch me setting fire to a hotel, and he deserves everything that he's got coming to him. But people that have,
they were looting, you know, they were looting like a Greggs and a Citizens Advice Bureau. I mean, that's so dumb. It doesn't help anyone. It's the dumbest nonsense. And, you know, I'm against shoplifting and watching all these people walking around shoplifting. I'm against all of that. So you know, to watch them do this stupid nonsense is just, I mean, that was insane. But, you know, like I said, Lucy Connolly, you weren't doing any of that stuff. You weren't doing any of it. Cameron, she wasn't doing any of that.
No, and that's the scandalous side of it, you know. And when the truth does come out, and I've got an idea of what the truth is as well, but obviously you don't really want to put it onto record and say what you think you know, but I'm pretty sure it will come out, and there could be a lot of hassle for Keir Starmer down the road if it's true what I've heard as well. Okay, anything else you want to ask me on that before I move on?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess, yeah, no, it was about how I guess about the system really and how it was manipulated. But I think you answered that. Like, yeah, you answered that. You know, I'm going to leave and I'm going to be like, oh, why didn't I ask this and why didn't I ask that? But like I said, I'm not a very good interviewer, so that's why I usually stay to the side. So yeah.
No, that's absolutely fine. Okay, Bovar. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you. Your understanding of it and why you've commented it on quite a bit over the last couple of weeks.
So I think it's like there's a lot of going on around it. So first of all, you know, I saw like this milk company wanted to reduce cow farts by adding this supplement to the cows. First of all, the fact that they want to reduce cow farts, that to me was just like, this is insane. This is nuts. You know, it's so hypocritical when you look at all the plastic bottles they use. Then you look at the supermarkets with their open refrigerators, just churning out the cold air while they've got the heating on. It's all a virtue signal. It's all BS. It's all like, we want to pretend we're doing something. So what are we going to do? We're going to go on cow farts. So that involves like, you know, and pushing it over to the farmers instead of looking at what they're doing themselves. So first of all, the whole concept around it, it's cow burps, isn't it? So reducing cow burps is insane to me. That's just nonsense. Like when you look at the stats, it's like the British cows produce 0.038 or 0.38% of the methane. They want to reduce that by 23%. And then methane is 0.0017% of the atmosphere. So, you know, this whole thing is nuts. So let's just put that aside. So then I'm like, okay, so what is this substance? Like, let's look at it. So I'm looking at it, and it contains 3-nitrooxypropanol, which is 3-NOP. So then when you look up that substance, which is a substance in Bovaer, when you look that up, you can go on the NIH, which is the National Institute of Health in America. You can look it up on the FDA. It all says must be handled with impermeable gloves, face masks and eye masks, because it is toxic and it may damage male fertility and male sex organs. So that's just, you know, that's humans handling it, right?
Oh, humans. Yeah.
So that's for the humans. That's humans handling it. So obviously if I go and buy some milk, I'm not handling it, but who knows, you know, when women are breastfeeding, they're very cautious about what they put in their bodies, if they have any, you know, if they're responsible women, because it can come out in the milk. So what we're putting in the cows, does it come out in the milk, right? So that's another thing. So I'm looking at this, and this is like, so it's toxic to handle. You're going to feed this to a cow. What does it do to the cow? Well, the cows on it lost weight, but they decided that wasn't an adverse effect. But to me, if you're a farmer, you don't want your cow. I wouldn't want my horses or my dogs losing weight unless they were obese, and, you know, cows aren't obese. So then the worst one is that it shrinks their ovaries. And again, it's laughable. They said this isn't an adverse effect. So you're telling me that a cow's shrunken ovaries over the course of a study is not cause for an alarm? Like, you know, if it was my ovaries shrinking, or your kids or your mum's ovaries shrinking, it's definitely cause for an alarm. So, you know, to me,
so do you think it's my opinion on it is it's just the elite in the world? It's the next money makes. Like Bill Gates he's bought into a similar product, I think it's in the States, called Rumin. It's exactly the same thing than Bovar. Do you look at it from that angle as well? Do you think it's...
Oh, absolutely. It's like, right, okay, what's happening here? Oh, big pharma are going to make some more money. Then you see that DEFRA, which is a government arm for farming, they want to introduce it by and mandate it by 2030, which is a date that you see a lot within, you know, that they talk about within the World Economic Forum and the WEF. So, you know, if every single cow in the UK and across the world, because they're putting them, you know, it's not just the UK that is doing it. It all seems to be being rolled out across America, Australia. I think in America, it's actually used in beef cows as well. So it's just another money maker for big pharma again. And then you see 100%. The government's involvement. The government have like handed over like 10 million funding for a plant to make it up in Scotland. So it's like whose palms are being greased here to make, you know, all this money and the whole net zero thing to me is a scam. So you've got big pharma joining in the action right now, but you know, a lot of our taxes end up going towards their stupid net zero projects. But at the same time, these people are not talking about, you know, they're making out that these natural gases like carbon dioxide and methane are poison, but we've got real poison. We're really being poisoned in our water, in our air, in our food, you know, with you know, all the medical pharmaceutical products that just flush out into our water supply that we, you know, that are ingested and flush out into the water supply. You've got, you know, plastics turning into microplastics that we're ingesting. You've got hormone disruptors in the water supply as well. So all of these things are really affecting people, and they want to make, you know, they want to make this into some poison.
So from what I can see, do you think there's any chance of reversal of this? Because I can see the shelves full of Arla products. Lurpax took a big hit. Well, I mean, we don't get our milk. The only place we can get our milk from now is Co-op. So, and then the other places, they've got stacks of milk in, you know, there. Do you think this will ever get reversed, or do you think, how do you think it's going to continue?
So I think that I always have hope that there is. I mean, we stopped the mandates for vaccines in England. They ended up, I mean, obviously they still rolled it out for the 40,000 care workers that, you know, lost their jobs, but they didn't manage to get it rolled out to the doctors and the NHS and everything else. So people managed to stop the mandates for the COVID jabs. I think we can, you know, people can stop the mandates for this. If they reduce the demand, it's going to come down to individual people and what they want to do. I, for example, will never buy another Arla product. I've seen local farms. I called up all 3 local dairies to me. None of them use Bovaer with their cows. Actually, their cows are all out in the fields, and Bovaer. And this is why, you know, where are the animal rights people? The tests were done on cows that don't even eat grass or silage, which is their natural diet. So what's happening to the cows? Are they in a barn? It's also recommended that the cows don't graze for more than 3 hours in a row, because it stops the effect of the product. So when you, so what are the cows doing? So anyway, I spoke to my local dairies who are like, no, our cows are all out in fields. They're not given this, you know, supplement, this drug. So I'm like, right, I'm going to buy from them. I'm going to share it with everyone local to me, who will then go out and buy from them. And actually, these small local farms and dairies have been overwhelmed with demand, because people don't want it. People don't want it. So, you know, there will still be the people that go down the supermarket, buy the Arla stuff for convenience, or, you know, I think Tesco's own and also Marks and Spencer's. When I looked into it, I realized they've actually been using it on some of their farms, you know, and then all the milk gets mixed together. So I think that it will come down to the people and what they want, because we're not being hoodwinked anymore by what they're trying to do. And in America, they were giving cows RBGH, which is recombinant growth hormone, and again, just like Bovaer, not labeling on the milk cartons that the milk had come from cows that were given it. Now that substance, the growth hormone for cows, is banned in the EU and in Canada, but wasn't banned in America. And then they're saying now that it can cause breast cancer. So this kind of stuff has been going on, and what would then happen is that people would buy, because they weren't labeling which had it, others that would label which doesn't. So that's going to be what the next thing, I think people will use it as a marketing strategy to say Bovaer free. So
Yeah.
I think then people then will make the choice, and if they want to, you know, drink from cows that have used a toxic substance, it's on them. But again, like I said, I think it's all, you know, it's big pharma getting their palms greased, and I think that it's also in a way to scare people off meat and dairy, which is their big goal anyway. So I've seen people say that, look, if we, you know, what do we do if we stop buying our milk from, you know, from the supermarkets? It's going to affect the farmers. Yes, but you know, you just have to make the choice to go to a farmer that doesn't use it and hope that, you know, their business picks up if the others doesn't, and encourages, you know, farmers to rethink what they're doing.
Yeah, I think moving forward, I think they might well reverse this, because from what I can see, I think there's been I think anything the government do at the minute, they're going to get met with scepticism.
Yeah.
They could give everybody £100 and people would still moan at it, just of who they are. Okay, so last thing I wanted to talk to you about was a guy called Daniel Penny. Now, anybody that doesn't know who Daniel Penny is, this guy was acquitted. He put I think it was a homeless guy in a chokehold in America. And this guy who he killed, or he's been acquitted, but he did kill the man. He was making a nuisance of himself and begging for food. And I think some of the women that were there were a bit scared. So Daniel Penny's jumped in, put him in a chokehold, and he's ended up killing the man. Now, he's been acquitted for that. So not guilty, and he's free to do. I've seen you commentate on that. Because you put a comment on X, which basically said we need more men like Daniel Penny throughout the world. And I think you're 100% right. I think there are too many men that stand by and watch things happen to women, to other people, to animals, you know, but nutters walking the streets with machetes, and people are just standing by and just letting these things happen. So I'd like to just get your words on that and your reason for saying that.
Well, so what happened is this guy that was harassing people had 42 prior arrests. He'd kidnapped a 5-year-old or a girl that was aged between 5 and 7. He'd broken the cheekbone or the orbital bone of a 67-year-old woman previously. There was a warrant actually out for his arrest at the time that he was killed.
Okay.
And he was harassing people on the tube. Now, obviously, the media have made this a black and white situation again, because Daniel Penny is white and the perpetrator who got killed was black. However, there's also a black man that was helping Daniel Penny and a black woman who said she was terrified of this man. They came to court and spoke up. And in fact, when the police did arrive, the man was still alive. I forget his name, Jordan Neely. He was still alive, but the police didn't want to do anything or get close to him or do CPR on him because they were scared of HIV or hepatitis or whatever nasty diseases could come round from people like that. So they were scared. So he was alive at the time that the police came. He wasn't, you know, he wasn't dead. And then obviously Daniel Penny, I think, got charged. I don't know exactly the job. Is it murder or manslaughter? But anyway, he was acquitted because, you know, it was like self-defense. He was defending the people there. Now, if this guy had been rightfully in jail, the situation would have happened. But the problem is we're seeing all these violent people out on the street, and you know, we're seeing too many people locked up when they step in and try and help somebody. So it's no good. You know, once someone like Jordan Neely's killed somebody or broken their, you know, cheekbone or kidnapped a girl, it's no good there afterwards saying, oh, you know, you got to help at the time. And had he been done for murder, what message would have that sent? Never help anyone. That would be saying, do not ever help anyone you ever see in distress. So thankfully, I'm just really glad that he was acquitted. And, you know, I just hope it means more people feel like they can step in if they see a really horrific situation about to unfold.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to think that if I was ever faced with anything like that, that I'd step in, you know. But
you know, he is a brave man because
yeah,
he is a brave man because sometimes, you know, and obviously another thing that puts people off is, you know, they can get harmed themselves. Daniel Penny could have been killed, you know, for stepping in and trying to, you know, to help. So that is something. But to see somebody who I actually think he's a hero. If I was on a tube getting harassed or attacked, I would hope to God there was someone like Daniel Penny that would step in and try and protect me. So I think he's a hero. All these people, you know, making it a race situation are just doing what they do all the time, which is race baiting.
I totally agree with you. Right, so we're coming to the end. So what are you doing for Christmas, Leilani? Are you going home or away or?
I am going away with my fiance for 3 days. We're going to go visit my parents, and I've got someone here looking after my horses for me. So it's hard for me to go away. I've got 3 horses at home. So luckily I have somebody who wants to spend Christmas in my home. So she'll look after the horses.
That's great.
And,
Leilani, thank you so much for speaking to me today. Hopefully we can speak again sometimes. You're great. Keep doing what you're doing. I love watching your feed.
Thank you.
You make me laugh every single day.
I've kept my potty mouth clean, haven't I?
You have. I was expecting a few. You've been brilliant. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me on, and keep doing what you're doing. And you know, it did, when I read your story, I just felt really like, wow, okay, this is good. Someone has stood up to this horrific system that's happening, and I was just so, you know, I was so happy to read your story. And you know, just know that you've inspired a lot of people, and you know, this justice system, we've got to keep pushing, because there is no justice system. There is no, I want to say the justice system needs reform, but there is no justice system. Well, except for you.
No. Thanks. Just keep doing what you're doing. You and David, who I'm interviewing next week, you are 2 that I follow every day. Both make me laugh. So thank you for speaking to me, and I'll hopefully speak to you again soon.
Cheers. Thanks, Mark.
No problem. Thank you.